Clish. I started folk dancing in Tucson in 1972. I was a graduate student at the University of Arizona working in high energy physics, and one of my co-workers was a folk dancer, and folk dancers are usually short of men, so she kept asking me to come and dance, and I thought, well, so finally I decided to go. I had taken ballroom dancing when I was in junior high in my hometown, Pittsfield, Mass. And so I knew I could dance, and all my friends were in those dance classes. We had a dance master come up from New York City on Monday nights, and we just do ballroom dancing. So I joined, and it was right after Oktoberfest, which is a good thing because I didn't want to do the German ploddles and stuff like that. And they were just teaching Ukrainian dancing, and I thought I can do that, and I did one of the squats, went down, and couldn't get up. And I was really quite unhappy about that. So I gave me something to work on, and so I worked on the Ukrainian stuff, and it was truly international. They would teach all kinds of dances, so I knew about 10 of everything: 10 Israeli, 10 Bulgarian, 10 Ukrainian, 10 Russian. And in about February or March that next year, I was in my first performance, and it is all Israeli in Palm Springs. So it was a regular folk dance group like you have here, but inside was a core group that performed, and they did it for money because with the money we could bring in teachers. And the first teachers I had were Mihai, Bora, and Tom Bozigian. And they all lived in LA, and they could come down to Tucson because it was really easy to get down there by car. And usually these teachers come with a program, but with those teachers we said, Tom, we want you to teach this dance. Tom, we want you to teach that. Bora, we want to learn this one. Mihai, that. Because we would actually get the more difficult dances and perform them. Once a year we'd have a big 3-performance schedule in one of the auditoriums on campus. And we'd spend most of the year rehearsing all these dances. A lot of them came from Stockton, but they're all difficult dances. We'd be about 25 dances in the program from 5 different regions of the world, and we'd always end with the Ukrainian set. And so that's what got me started in folk dancing. And when I came back east, it took about 2 years to find anything because there's nothing in the papers. And finally I found a group and another group and another group, and now I can dance 5 nights a week, but I only dance 4 because I'd like to have 1 day off. So that's what I've been doing. After I met Vita, we go to Europe for folk dance seminars. Been to quite a number of countries. We've been up to Norway, Bulgaria, twice to Romania, twice to a little island off Greece, Serbia, been up to Ukraine. So it's been a lot of fun. Folk dancing has been a lot of fun. Give me something to do.
So do you have a favorite folk dance or area?
I think my favorite is probably Romania. I guess about maybe 15 years ago we were up and dancing up in Ellen Golan has a dance camp up in New York, and we're up there, and Theodore and Leah Vasilescu were teaching, and they taught some really nice dances. I really liked them. And they had a free day before they went on to somewhere else, and so we brought them down to Monday night with Phyllis Diamond, and they taught down there, and we found a place to stay, and we've been really good friends since then. And I really like the Romanian. I like the dances Theodore's had and the stuff that Christian and Sonia have. I also like Turkish. I'm not a huge fan of Balkan. I like Balkan, but not a lot of it. It's like a small region of the world, and the number of dances you do is not proportional to the size. You know, so I like some Albanian, and I don't do much Ukrainian anymore because I'm older. I like all of them. Scandinavian's fine, but I think my favorite is probably Romanian.
Do you teach?
I've done some now. With the Wednesday night group in Columbia is a committee that runs it. It's not a one-person show like all the other places are. And so, and maybe 20 years ago, I was up there with Ron Perkins, and we'd teach a few dances. And then Traffic got worse. The place where I worked at got farther and farther away, and I just couldn't make it up there anymore in time. So, and I had later hours. So I wasn't up there for a long time, but now that I've retired, I'm back up there, and I've taught a few dances up there, a few dances on Monday night. But I like the Columbia group. It's a very, very interesting group.
Do you think that there'll be a resurgence of folk dance, or we see folk dancing going down?
It's the number of young people are really not that many coming in. We've seen times where we've seen some Tuesday night dancing showed up in about three or four people we've never seen before, not from the area. I don't know how they found out about it, but they showed up to dance. And they're all troopers. I know it in Columbia one year, a high school class elected on their own, the boys and the girls, to go to a folk dance class. And so they would come during the whole semester every Wednesday. And they weren't like just dragging their feet, they were actually doing the dances. Now when school ended, they didn't show up again, but it's always a chance. But I think generally it's getting older and older. I don't know what'll cause a resurgence or not. But I didn't do any dancing, folk dancing, until I was in college. I didn't even know it existed. So.
Do you want to talk about how you met Vita?
Oh, we met Vita at Buffalo Gap in 1986. I was there with Ron, and there are these two girls, and there's another friend of ours named Ernie Krause. And so Vita is with her friend Trish, and she says, "Who's that guy over there?" And somebody says, "Oh, his name is Ernie." And it's, "Oh no, I mean the other guy, and his name is Ernie too." So we were the two Ernies, and so we met then, and then so I didn't see her all summer. She went over to Europe, and she did cruise down the Danube. And I was with Dovna Tańca, a performing Polish group in Washington, D.C. area, and we were invited to Poland, and so we danced over there. And then we met again at Buffalo Gap again in the Labor Day camp, because they met twice a year then. And so that's where we met. And then I guess it sort of stuck.
Do you have any other stories or anything else you'd like to say about folk dancing, or what?
Well, I don't know. Folk dancing been Betty good to me. It's something to do. Occupies the time. There are challenges. I like dances that are challenging. Easier ones are fine too, but I like the ones that you have to work on. And then after you work on them, remember them. I figure if you do a dance about 50 times, by that time it should really stick, because there's some dances I learned in 72, 73 that I had not done for a long time, and I was actually able to teach the darn thing, and I went back to look at the syllabus, and hey, it did match. So I remember some of the old dances, better than some of the new dances.
Good, great. Anything else you'd like to say?
I can't think of anything else. That was pretty much it. 25 years of dancing.
That's how long? Great. So when you went on the trips, how do you decide which ones to go on?
Well, Vita can speak German and fluently, and she can read and write German. That's like her second language. And there's a booklet that used to come out in Germany about all the dancing. And as a matter of fact, Phyllis Diamond used to advertise in it too. And so we get the book, and we get the book like in February, and we would know who's going to be here at Buffalo Gap months before she announced it. But we'd see all these places to go to. Serbia, we went to a little town, Siragoino, where they make these fabulous sweaters for men or women. They're absolutely unbelievable. They're not your normal patterns. And there was some big Italian designer who wanted to market their stuff, but he had to have his name on it, and they said no thank you. These in the village, this was back in 89, 90, somewhere around there. In the village, the sweaters were $90, which is fairly expensive for a small place like that. And you go up, we were up in Slovenia, we saw some more. They were 180. So I have about a 15-minute video. They did a fashion show for us. I have a 15-minute video of their bringing out all their sweaters and stuff. And our little local band played, and it was a lot of fun. Tape that. And Silvio Ciuciumiș runs a seminar twice a year or so in Romania, and we're up in Bukovina in Suceava, and he takes you, plunk you down a hotel. A bus will take you to maybe 3 monasteries, 3 villages, not a lot, which is 3 is a good number. And in one of the villages in Komenesti, all the villages, they greet you with bread and salt and a shot of slivovitz. And in this village, we spent a lot of time with them. They fed us, and then in the afternoon, we gathered at their little auditorium, and the village dancers danced for us. And the village, the whole village turned out for this performance, and they're doing singing and dancing and everything else. But when that whole thing was done, we got up on stage because the whole week we had learned dances from that area, and we had a 15-minute suite of their dances. So we went up on stage and we performed for the village. And unfortunately, Silvio Ciuciumiș's girlfriend tore her Achilles heel and could not dance. The fortunate thing is I gave her my camera and said, "Can you tape this?" So I have the only video recording of our performance. And after several years of looking around, I finally found a way of getting it onto a CD of the decent quality. And so I made a bunch of CDs, and when we went back the next time, a lot of the people that were there the first time were there, and I gave them the DVD of our performance back then. So that was the interesting thing.
So, what was the feeling of the village people of you doing the music?
I think they were a little amazed. They really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun to do. It was really crowded on the stage because we're a good-sized group, but we had to organize fairly well, and it went off quite well. I think we remember the dances. I remember I was sick at that time. We were up in the mountains with the shepherds, and we had a meal. There was very little water, but they had like Rijeka slivovitz. It was very harsh, and you could take a sip, and it was really hard to get down. But as the meal progressed, you could pour more and drink it like water. And that was okay. I didn't really get drunk or anything, but then they served a second sitting, and I probably should have done that because I really got sick, badly sick for about 3 days. I was drinking water left and right, and finally recovered from that. So I missed some of the teaching because I was under the weather. They brought a doctor in for 6 of us were really in bad shape, but we survived all that. So I remembered, but I don't remember the pain and the ache of it, the fact that you come down for breakfast and didn't want to look at those eggs. But all in all, that was one of the most successful trips we've had. All of them have been very nice. I've enjoyed all of them. And I've always had the outlook that, if this isn't a great place, so what? In 2 weeks, I'm going to be home in my environment. And they're stuck here. It's that bad. But it's never been. People have been very nice. And it's all been very interesting. And I've enjoyed it. And so we're now in the sculling through things and deciding where do we want to go next, or where do we want to go back to. So we've been to Romania twice now, and different parts. We've been to the same little island in Tesos. It's a very nice little group. In a week's time, you learn somewhere between 70 and 90 dances. A lot of dances. They're all relatively easy. They're mostly Macedonian, although we're in Greece. And they run a very nice show. And at night, every night you're in a different taverna for dinner. And we take up 2/3 of the taverna, our group. And when we get done eating, push back the plates, get out the music, we dance some more. People come by, they join. Waiters come out, they join.
Fun.
It's a big party.
Great.
Yeah. So that's a really nice place to go. And at the Norway trip, well, we just decided we wanted to go to Norway. Vita was working in Prague at the time, so she had a company car, so she drove up to Germany, and I flew over and put the car on a ferry, went up to Norway, and did a tour. And it was very nice. And we visited some people in Trondheim that we met in Bulgaria, Belcher Stanov's dance camp in Varna. And so we visited them, and maybe a few years later, they came down to the States and visited us over 4th of July. And they came down to Berlin for Vita's birthday party. So that was nice. So you get to meet people, and then you get to see them again somewhere else. And it's very, very interesting. Yeah.
What do you think about the statement that if a dance doesn't change, then it's a dead dance?
Well, the thing is that if it doesn't change, people remember it. I don't know if there's some of the dance I guess you can embellish, but which is fine when you got your little solos and stuff like that. It's okay. But most of those dances, a lot of that stuff, I don't think it changes in the village that much. I remember all these villages are isolated. In Norway, there's a telemark. We do telespringer. And just over the mountain, there's Valdres. And they do Valdresspringer. They're not the same. In fact, they're sort of like reversed of each other. So if you do one, it's hard to do the other. When you do the other one, it's hard to do the telespringer. So we've done both, but there's not much call for Valdresspringer, so we just stick with telespringer. So there's all these isolated pockets that didn't travel that much. So I imagine the dances didn't evolve that much. I mean, they started somewhere, somebody doing something, and other people join in, and that's how the dance comes about, and it's fine. I don't have a problem with it. The only difficult thing is if you learned to dance, you've done it for 20 years, and somebody new comes in you've never seen before and says, here's the dance, here's the name of it, and here's the music. Well, the name's the same, the music's the same, but everything is just not the same. Sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it doesn't seem to be as good. And I think that's one of the things for the popularity of folk dancing in the United States. All the teachers, over the past 30 years, they've culling the countryside. The first time they brought back, really top-level dances. And as you go back and do more and more research, there's less and less to cull, and finally they're just not the same anymore.
So you think that's one of the reasons for the decline too?
No, just people getting older and younger people not being interested. Even families that we went to Texas camp for about 10 years. There was a family, they'd come Thanksgiving, the whole family, 2 parents and 2 children. And they did that until, they were in college, they would come. But after that, they don't come anymore. So I don't know if they had to come or they wanted to come, I don't know. But that's part of it. For us, in Tucson, the thing that was, because we were all relatively young, and we do the Ukrainian stuff when we're performing out on the street or something like that, or we go to festivals, that would get people interested. Because it's something they didn't see before, and it was sort of macho, And, but other than that, I don't think they're interested. And with all the media, all the different ways of things occupying your time, that probably wasn't even cross your mind.
A lot more things to do these days.
That's right.
A lot more on your mind.
Right. A lot more things sitting around than just getting exercise.
Right.
That's the only reason I do it. The music is fine, the dancing's fine, but it beats jogging. So that's one of the reasons why I do it. To try and stay in some reasonable kind of shape. Yeah.
Being able to do it 4 nights a week. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we're lucky. Actually, you could pick 2 or 3 different places every night to go to.
Wow.
In the Washington D.C. area. And it's got Now all the groups are small. Some of them are 10 people, some are 15, 20. The Columbia group and the Monday night group are probably the largest, and they get 30 or 40 people. Well, the Friday night group in Greenbelt, that's a good sized group too. But Larry started that decades ago in Wheaton. We used to meet in Wheaton, and at that time you'd have 150 people. It was a large place, and we did fine, and then decided to throw us out so they could have midnight basketball. I don't know why we want to have basketball at midnight, but we left. We noticed it was never being occupied at midnight. But then after that, the group sort of declined rapidly because they're searching around for a place to go. And we went to many different places, and then finally ended up in Greenbelt. So that's... So a lot of it's just people getting old, and once in a while we get a younger person in. We had a young girl, she was 16, her father was either an ambassador or part of the Hungarian embassy, and she came a few times, but the dances we do are not quite young enough for her. So, but I think she started a kids group or something, which was nice.
Okay.
Yeah, so we see her once in a while. Yeah, her folks have been back, I think she's back here again. They don't do long tours, so.
So do you think targeting kids would help? Like, the younger kids before that they would get into?
I don't know. It's very strange. Back when Reagan was president, they had this adopt school thing. And I was performing with Governor Tainsa at the time, and we went to one of the schools. In fact, I think it was the one that Reagan adopted, and we put on a little performance for them. And after we said, "Oh, come on up on stage, and we'll show you a dance." And what's interesting is that the boys and the girls came up, and I didn't expect the boys to come up at all, and they did, and they had a good time. But some places I think it may be part of the gym. I don't know if they got gym anymore. I think they've cut that out as being too
what
positive.
Age group was that then?
They were, I think it was 12, 13.
Okay.
I think it was an elementary school, or was it a junior high? I don't remember which. It was, but it was at the age where boys didn't really want to do much with girls.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So that's what's so surprising about it. Yeah, that's really surprising about it. Yeah.
That's just the question. If you're going to try, is it good to target the younger kids?
Yeah, it might be. The thing is, try to get a group of youngsters together. It's interesting in Montreal on the mountain. I think it's Wednesday night they have dancing. And I worked in Montreal, but I could never get up there because it seemed like the computer system we're designing for the city had problems on Tuesday, which meant we spent all day Wednesday and all night trying to fix it so we could get up and going on Thursday. So I never made it up the mountain. But later on, I was up there once. I think Jocelyn had a camper up there in Montreal, and then one of the activities we did was go up the mountain. It was surprising. It was a lot of people there, maybe 150, and there were groups of teenagers. And they had their own little cliques. They would, on the circle dances, they have their own circle. And it was interesting because they just had a big jar up there. You got some bucks in there, and there's a guy DJing all this music. And they were just having a great time. Now, whether they do anything else, I don't know, because I don't really live up there. The only other time I remember we were in Hungary, and I think there's Heroes Park or something like that. And in that thing, there's a garden for blind people, and there's also somewhere out there's this big clamshell. And I don't know Hungarian, but I knew enough to see on a sign this dancing Saturday night. Because in the summer they closed down. I think it was Saturday night or Friday night. And I said, "Oh, let's go." So we went out there. They had live music, and they were doing the dances that we know. Not just Hungarian Meseshege. They were doing international dancing, and with live music. And it was the tunes that we hear on records.
Oh,
It was amazing. They had a really great, and they had a vendor out there selling beer and pizza. And yeah, and so we danced. It was really great.
it's international, right?
I know, yeah, it's exactly.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything else? You know, you've been a wealth of information.
I
You're great.
think I run out of thoughts. Train of thoughts.
Ai de ano, ai de dušo, konja da proda.